Elon Musk has been in the news lately for all sorts of reasons, starting from Twitter to Robo Taxis to be the first person to build so many multi-billion dollar companies. Let's discuss. Welcome to Akashawani. I am Padma Kumar.
And I'm Ravi.
Let's start. So, Ravi, Elon Musk, no matter how much we don't want to talk about Elon Musk is in the news for all sorts of reasons. So, I heard
Yeah,
this morning that Twitter has reopened communication and discussions with Elon Musk about the takeover bid. Looks like nobody else is able to give them that price. And also, one funny thing like this, a lot of irony comes with Elon Musk. The price he quoted is 54.20. He wanted to sneak in 420 into the Twitter stock price that he's willing to buy it for.
yeah, yeah. The obsession with 420. Yeah,
uh, yeah, and
right.
for people who don't know, like he did the same thing when he said, like, a couple of years ago, he said that Tesla secured funding at $420 per share. So so he has some
Yeah,
sort of
to
say
take it
that again.
private. Yeah, to
Right.
take it private, right? I think it was
Right.
2016, if I'm not wrong. Yeah,
So basically, yeah, Elon Musk I think I thought it was a very very brilliant move. Elon Musk firstly said that he is going to buy 9% of the shares, and I think Agarwal said that he's going to let him get onto the board seat. But there was a stipulation. Apparently, if you are on the board of Twitter, you cannot buy more than 14.9% of the stake. You cannot buy it unless without the approval. You cannot buy more than 15% of the stake at Twitter. So he denied that seat, and then he offered Twitter to to just buy Twitter for 49 billion. I think that was like a very like
yeah,
mafia style, full of balls move from Elon Musk. Was like, what are you
yeah,
talking about?
yeah. That I think there is a quote. Gonna give you an offer you
Right,
can't
from
refuse.
Godfather, right?
Right.
And I
That
think
is
that's what
this
he
is that
said too.
offer.
He was like on
Yeah,
Twitter, he was like, I made an
yeah,
offer, and then just he did not say the second part, and it's up to Twitter if they can if they can refuse or not.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, again, there are a lot of complex policies that work in the background, but end of the day, the shareholders
Right,
want to make money. So if they have a good offer, they want to take it. If you look at Twitter for the
right,
longest time, they were always waiting for somebody to acquire them. Right, first it was supposed to be Microsoft. They said, okay, this shares
correct.
went up, but there was never, as far as I remember, there was never a moment where I never invested in Twitter because I never saw a business
Yeah,
model for them. Right. Now they're charging and all, but earlier that
right,
was not even there. Right. And the space was too less to actually do any marketing. So I never saw a business model building on it. But yeah, for the same reason, I think there are more chances they'll be under a lot
right,
of pressure to take the deal, because of the bigger shareholders may put
correct.
pressure on them.
And
But yeah,
also one thing is
moving on.
like apparently in last, I think even uh, I don't remember exactly. I can probably throw a tweet in 2012. I think Twitter stock price was more or less where it is today. So in almost a decade, the if the stock price is more or less at the same price, okay, yeah, okay, the currently
Mm,
all the stocks are down today. Okay, we can give you that benefit of the doubt, but like in a year, if your stock price is more or less the same compared to other tech companies in the Bay Area, like, and what are the new products that Twitter came out with? I don't see any new products that maybe that one Spaces, that was like a direct lift from
yeah,
Clubhouse. We do have Twitter, but that's about it. I don't see any new product from Twitter. So I think there's a fiduciary responsibility for the CEO or the board to tell why would they deny Elon Musk, or why would they do that
yeah,
in the long run. So I think it's a very interesting case, and I think it looks like Elon Musk is winning from the news today. Like somebody, I think, yeah, I think I saw this in MSNBC where he said that it says that, let me open that. Give me a second. Let me open that. Twitter is reportedly talking taking another look at Musk takeover bid. Apparently, they don't have any other choice
Hmm.
but to look at it before they say no.
Right.
And there were like a bunch of conspiracies that Google might also take a bid to buy Twitter, but I don't know if that is. I read this on Twitter, but I don't know how much of this is true.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
what do you think? What do you think? Do you
Interesting.
think Elon Musk would win the Twitter fight?
Again, like I said, I don't understand the complex policies
Right, right,
in play in the background, but I'm just going
right,
by the common sense, right? If it makes sense for people who have invested in there, then I think the CEO has
right.
to agree, right? They have to move forward because the board, I'm sure, the board has a lot of investors, not just um, board members who don't have any stake.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think it'll be under a lot of
right,
pressure, and I don't think any CEO would want to take that risk, especially if the CEO is
right,
not a founder. They won't have any sentimental
right.
value, right? End of the day, they're an employee.
Correct,
So if it makes sense, I'm sure they'll go for it.
correct.
But yeah, I'm sure we'll know in a couple of
Right,
weeks.
and moving on, like he was also in news for he apparently there was this shareholder meeting like every quarter for the quarterly earnings, and somebody asked
Hmm.
Tesla some question, and in response to that question, Elon Musk said that Tesla is looking at robo taxis, probably 2 years away. That's a very 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 aggressive deadline.
Yeah,
Like it's like that, he I think
yeah.
no matter like he might fail and he might be usually is not hitting his timelines, but that is a very very like you will be like you're looking forward to the future. You want something like this, don't you think that?
Yeah, but I mean, realistically,
Right,
right? I Yeah, it will be amazing if it happens. No
right,
doubt about it. Like 2024 is not far. It's only 2 years,
right,
not even 2 years, right? But would it happen? I don't
right,
think so. The reason why I say it is, you know, I think yesterday you saw, when we
right,
were driving, the car just went from one lane to another lane, just in the
correct,
middle of the road. Right? That is
correct.
very scary. And you're talking about Robo
Hmm.
Taxi. Here, it was not following a
Right,
lane. So I don't think it's there. I mean, okay, they may have in 2 years
correct.
is a long time, right? In this age, 2 years, anything
Yeah,
can happen. But I don't think it can go from not following a lane to driving on its own in 2 years without all the regulations. It is
correct.
complex, right? And today, I was just reading an article where a CEO of
Hmm.
a firm, forgot his name, but they are actually trying to block FSD. One of his main agenda is to block FSD from getting
Oh wow.
approved. So there are people who are
Hey
like
man.
dedicating their lives, I guess, to stop this, which is sad because there is one thing about trying to put
Mm,
in regulations rather than just blocking the
correct.
technology, right? Because it's inevitable.
Correct.
um, but yeah, but it'll be amazing if it happens in 2 years. I'm
Right,
looking forward to it. Even if it happens in 4 years,
right.
that's fine, but I'm definitely looking forward to it, because end of the day, right now, today, if you're taking an Uber, then I'm sure like 60-70% of your money is going into the
Correct.
for the driver, right? Only the other 30% is going to the actual investment, which is the car or the app or whatever. um, so it'll be very cheap to take public transport. Not public transport per se, but it not owning a car and then taking a taxi, because I believe he said it's going to be cheaper than public
Yes,
transport.
that's his. So of course he
Yeah,
says that the keyword is aspired. He's aspiring to make it ready by
yeah,
2 years. We should again, but that is like I
right.
don't know like how many like it gives you that like he's going to Mars. He's trying to get robot taxis. Like who knows, right? Whether it happens, it doesn't happen, doesn't, I don't know. Nobody knows except Tesla.
Yeah.
But like that's a very very challenging thing
Right.
to work on. Like if you have a bunch of engineers working on something, if you can't do it in 2 years, I'm sure you can do it in 5 years
Yeah.
for sure. Like it's a matter of time.
Yeah. Yeah, even if they cannot do. So the thing with Tesla is whatever they work on, they
Right.
open it up, right? They don't patent it and save it. So it's okay, even if they don't
Right.
win. They're gonna release all the patents, so they some other company can build on it, right? It's all about building a better future. I think so. As long as it is happening, as long as it's progressing, it's
Right.
good. I know Elon Musk timelines are always aggressive, so it may or may not happen in the 2 years. But yeah, you never know. I'm really hoping to see that. And the other thing is, once robo taxis come into play, and then if they are cheaper than public transport, then there is also a question of how many people will actually own a car
Correct.
going forward. Especially people live, you already know people living in cities
A
don't
lot of them,
own
yes.
a car, right? Yeah, a lot of them. I know one of our friends used to live
Mm.
in San Francisco, and his rent to park a car was actually more than his EMI of the
Yeah,
car.
I know.
So he
Right.
never owned a car for that reason also.
Correct.
But there are a lot of places like that. Even in New York City, a lot of people take
Correct.
public transport. So if this happens, I think especially it may not go all the way into the suburbs and
Correct.
rural areas, but in the urban settings, I think it makes sense. And it will make sense because I have seen in San Jose the new construction and the new commercial
Right.
construction, they are decreasing the parking spots, right? Usually it used to be like per square feet you need to have these
Correct.
many parking spots, right? But they're decreasing the
And
parking
why would
spots.
that be?
So yeah, I mean it's to discourage, and that's what their
Yeah.
explanation is, to discourage
Right.
people from driving, right? If it's harder for you to
Right.
find a parking spot, you will try to get a taxi, or you will try to take a
Correct.
public park transportation, right? For example, you go
Right.
to a stadium. Almost all of them don't want to drive to a stadium because it's a
Correct.
hassle, parking and then getting out. It'll take an hour after the game to
Correct.
come out of the stadium parking spot. But if you take a public transport, it's easier, right? So I think the cities have started planning, especially places which are crowded like Silicon Valley. The cities have started planning in this direction, because whatever permits they're giving, they'll take at least like
Yeah.
5 years, because
Correct.
Google campus, as you know, has been in the
Oh,
news
yeah.
for
Yeah.
almost 3 years now. And I know they're acquiring land and all, but it's going to
Right.
take a long time. So I think, yeah, especially urban cities, they have started planning and in this direction already, and it's going to happen. It's inevitable, right?
I think by
It's
the
going to
time,
happen.
I mean, that's good because like by the time that happens, I think a lot of people are are moving out of the city. They probably are in like suburbs, and with especially with
Mm.
the current real estate boom, I think everybody's moving out of the city. So I hope this only stays in like cities like San Jose, San Francisco. These people are trying to restrict people from buying new cars, but I hope all the suburbs are still okay, people driving their own car. And again, if you can, again, a lot of kids these days, right? Like I think they're already a generation old, but the current generation, like who are in their late teens, maybe early 20s or something like that, who are in college, none of them would like see all through college you would be used to Uber so much that you don't see a reason why you should own a car. Like all your friends are using Uber,
Yeah.
everybody is like carpooling all the time. So uh maybe it's not the same like it is for us. Like robot taxis, they would probably love robot taxis, and they probably are more trusting of new technologies than we are. The older you get, the
Yeah.
the lesser you trust technology, and the more you'll be want to, like, you don't want to change anything in your life, right? So yeah, that's great. I'm
Yeah.
excited for this. And
Yeah.
since we were talking about traffic, right? I think Elon Musk also got funding for no thank you. Elon Musk also got funding for the Boring Company. I think he got about
Yeah.
$675 million at a nearly a valuation of
Yeah.
$5.7 billion. That's a lot of money, buddy. Like, I mean, it doesn't look a lot because Elon
Yeah.
Musk is like the CEO of the company, but it looks like he has That's a lot of money if you consider it as a separate company, and if it gets about $700 million, close to $700 million of funding, it's a lot of money.
Yeah. By the way, what do you think about this concept of putting a tunnel under point A to point B? How is it gonna help? Do you
I
think it's
don't know,
gonna help?
buddy. I think it might help, like I'm thinking it might help, like for cities, like unplanned cities, like most of it, like unplanned as in like the city, or not unplanned, but like what old cities like in India, like Hyderabad or Mumbai, where the structure of the city is such that there are no, you cannot like build new roads, and everything is so tight. In And public, building a public transport for the entire Mumbai or entire Hyderabad is very very expensive underground. So maybe uh, and for those reasons, for those cities, it makes more sense to have some sort of underground tunnel. And I don't think it would be private. I think it will be
Hmm.
public vehicles would ship you from one place to another, and it will be quick, very very quick.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, if you think about it, the use cases are very limited. I think I have a
Okay.
different take on it. I don't think it will be very
Okay.
public use. I'm thinking it could be more of a
Okay.
private use. For example, if there is a conference center, for example, Las Vegas, right? In the downtown, there is a conference center, a huge one, and then there is airport. I think they were doing the same thing. They were trying to test a boring company for the
Hmm.
same reason, to transport people for this
Right.
private event, right? It will only work in that kind of setting. It won't work in a public setting, right? Or you can connect, for example, in San Jose, you can connect the San Jose airport
Correct.
to Diridon. It's already connected through
Right.
a light rail, but you know how slow
Right.
light rail is, right? You might as well walk fast. So it is. I think that is the kind of setting. It won't work on public roads per se, because it's simple, right? You drive fast, 100 miles an hour under the ground, but when you get out, it's going to create a choke
Right.
point. Right? You can't just move people from one point
Right.
to another. So I think it'll be more of a,
Is
oh
this the
yeah,
one you're
so
talking about?
I think it'll be more of,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. They were moving people between. I think Las Vegas, they gave a
Okay.
contract for this. But yeah, that it in a private setting, that's exactly what I was saying. It makes sense because you're moving people within. The cars will drop from one point another, and then pick up and then go away in like
Okay.
10 seconds, right? But if it's your private car, then you need to get out, and then you have to watch for the
Correct.
traffic. So it is a choke
Right.
point essentially. So it won't work out. That's what I feel. It's only point A to
Right.
point B. Private
Yeah, I
uh,
think in a more of a controlled
transportation
setting, like
solution.
those, how
Yep.
we have these connections between airports from domestic to international in certain parts of the world. So I
Yep.
think those situations, this
Yep.
is like more helpful because people just go from one airport to the other, or it's a more of a controlled setting.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. But I don't know.
Yeah.
But how many use cases are there? Like we can, maybe there are like 200 use cases. That's about it across the world for this one, like for all the countries included. But
Yeah. Yeah. If they can really
right.
scale it up, then it's a different setting. But I think in the short term, the use cases are very small. In long term, if they really
Hmm.
scale it up, for example, there were talks about a boring tunnel from Abu Dhabi
Okay.
to Dubai. It's like
Wow.
200 miles, I believe. So I don't know, but if they can pull it off, then it's a different game, right? It's a
Right.
long tunnel, so I don't think they
Yeah.
are at that stage. But in a public road setting, I all I'm saying is it won't ease
Yeah.
congestion. That's what in fact, it may worsen
Yeah.
congestion.
That it might
Right?
create those bottleneck where everybody's waiting on the street for the car
Yep.
to come out of it. So it could. I don't know.
Yeah.
We are
If they put in LA downtown, both sides will get held up because the traffic will stop in the
correct.
whole tunnel.
But like this makes like
Yeah.
goes back to our point when we started the show, right? Like so he built PayPal, he built Tesla, then he built SpaceX, now the Boring Company, and I think there's one other company, the Solar Company, the Solar, which is part of Tesla now.
Solar
The
City.
Solar City, is it? What there was one of the
Yeah.
companies that he started.
Yeah.
So there are so many billion-dollar companies that he started, like one man doing so many things. I don't know if he's like finding things where it's there. There's no competitor and just building it really fast and really quick and really efficiently. By the time there's competition, he's already like
Yeah.
20 miles, like he's already in the second lap while everybody starts their first lap. It just feels that way, like even like Tesla
Yeah.
electric cars, right? I think we talked about it in our earlier shows as well, where he's just couple of miles ahead of the competition.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I think the more you know about Tesla, the way it's a disruptive
Correct.
company, right? The way they just changed the game completely, and then now people are catching up. And I think we mentioned this in one of the episodes also, right? Where people always come and say, "Okay, this is the next Tesla killer. Is Lucid the next Tesla
Right.
killer?" Every car company that comes up with a longer range says this is the Model S killer. A electric truck comes and says it's the
Correct.
cyber truck killer, and like, and then one of the Tesla executives, he comes out and says, why Tesla
Correct.
killer, right? Their electric is only 2% of the
Correct.
vehicles on the road. 98% is up for grabs, right?
That's correct.
Why not make it ice killers, right? But essentially that is what it should be. I think
Hmm.
competition is good, right? The more people come into the industry, the better, because you'll have
Correct.
more options. But yeah, Tesla, I believe personally, it's way ahead of the competition. The way they built the software, the way they have designed the vehicles, and right now the scale at which they're growing, it's amazing. Especially we talked about the
Correct.
gigafactories last episode. The gigafactory video, I think we just saw a video of
Correct.
Giga Berlin, and that is just amazing. It's mind blowing as the way the manufacturing is done. It's so efficient, right? I think if people can relate to it and understand, if you have seen a typical setting of a car
Correct.
manufacturing, right? How it works, there is a belt running, and then a chassis goes in, the engine is bolted in, and then the tires are bolted in, and then the body is put in. So many manual
Correct.
things are done, right, while doing it. But if you look at the way Tesla is manufactured in these gigafactories, you hardly see human
Mm.
intervention there, right? It's all the metal is stamped, and then it's welded, painted. Machines are doing all this, right? And the humans are there, of course, to do the
Correct.
QC. But once I'm sure the Optimus is built, I don't think you need humans to do
Correct.
QC anymore. I'm sure the robot can
Yeah.
do a better job at
At
looking at
least the
all
robot
the
doesn't make any. At
quality
least the
issues.
robot doesn't make any mistakes. Humans will make
Yeah,
mistakes. So
yeah,
sorry to cut you off there, but yeah, go ahead.
yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. Because I told you, right? I got my car delivered, and the handle, it had only one nut. There were two nuts missing. How can somebody miss two and just put one? The technician came home and he opened up the door panel and he says, "Oh, there are two
Okay.
nuts missing." And he only carries one. So, one other person had to come back the next day and then put one nut.
Wow.
So yeah, the quality issues are still there, but looks like they
Right.
came a
Right.
long way right now. But I think now with the gigafactories, they have pretty much made it the most efficient way of manufacturing a car, right?
Right.
I think now they're just going to take off and then build a lot more, and that is what is exciting about where Tesla is
Yeah.
going to go next.
And since you're talking about competition, I think Netflix is facing a sheer